Hi, this is Dina from Splitcoaststampers. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a one-layer design or scene using multiple inlaid die cuts. To inlay a single die cut, the process is pretty simple. You'll cut this shape from a cardstock panel just as you would normally do in your die cutting machine. You'll cut a second shape from coordinating cardstock and have that ready. Remove the cut piece from your cardstock panel. I usually lay some permanent tape behind a corner or two of the opening to position the second cut piece. And then you'll fit your other die cut piece right in there just like a puzzle piece. Here's that panel on a completed card with an additional die cut and some spattered ink. To inlay multiple die cuts, you'll want to choose your dies first and cut out pieces of cardstock to put together into a design or scene. Again, you'll cut these just as you normally would with your die cutting machine. For the next step, you're just going to be creating a plan for your design or scene. So lay the die cut pieces on your work surface just the way you would like them to appear on your card. You don't have to overlap the dies, but if you want a more intricate inlaid scene, it's fun to overlap the pieces a little bit. As we build these inlaid scenes, we're going to be working from the back to the front, from background to foreground. So I've flipped my pile of die cuts over and I'm going to begin with the circle that I have at the back of my scene. And I'm cutting just as I did before. I'm going to cut the circle shape out of my card base. Then I'll remove the cut, flip my panel over, and replace the cut with my blue circle. As I did before, I'll just put a small piece of tape along an edge of that opening so that I can position the cut before I stick it down more permanently. Once you have it in place, you can always flip that panel back over and put more tape in there to keep it in place for further cutting. I'm going to position the leaf next, which is the next shape from the back, and I'm just using the flower die to put it in the right place. I'll cut that leaf shape right into my circle. And this is another reason why it's good to have a little extra tape on the back side of the panel. Just as I did before, I'll remove that cut. I'll put a small piece of tape across the opening and replace the cut with the leaf that I cut earlier. Next, I'll position and cut the flower. Again, I'll remove the cut, turn the panel over, and put a small piece of tape along the edge of the opening. Position the flower that I cut earlier, and secure the piece. I'll just continue building my scene in this way until it's the way I want it. As you cut, be aware that you may create tiny pieces along the edges of your shapes. Be sure to save those so you can replace them when you put things back together. I also wanted to mention that it's best to use permanent tape or strong tape on the back side of your panel rather than washi tape or repositionable tape. When you assemble your completed card, that tape will still need to continue holding your pieces in place. You can add extra tape to the back of your panel to secure your die cuts, or when you adhere your panel to your card base, just be sure that you have adhesive on both sides of each cut line. Here's how I use that panel on a completed card. The order that you cut your dies in does make a difference. In this variation, I wanted to make a card where it looked like one butterfly was inside the frame and the other one was flying out. I cut the smaller butterfly first, which I want to appear inside the frame, and I'll replace that die cut image as I did before. For him to be inside the circle frame, I need to cut the circle next. And then I'll use that cut to replace a circle cut out of another card base. To complete the panel, I'll cut the second butterfly as I did in the first card, cutting out this shape and replacing it with a die cut butterfly. In another variation, I cut a variety of butterflies first, and then framed all of them in the circle shape. After that circle was cut, I placed it into a circle cut in another card base. I wanted to share just a couple of tips for working with word dies when you're doing an inlay technique. Very often word dies will have tiny loop areas inside the letters, and you'll need to keep track of those when you cut. Sometimes they'll fly all over and they're very difficult to keep track of, but I found that if you put a piece of cardstock underneath the paper when you cut, that will help your pieces stay in place. You can see here that I've made my cut, and I'm able to pull away the paper around the die cut, and all those little looped inside areas have stayed inside the die cut. There are a couple of ways that you can replace those tiny pieces into your cardstock. If you have them separated from the die or from the die cut, you can use a sticky tool, or here I'm using the tip of my craft knife to pick them up and put them into place. If you're able to keep those tiny pieces within the die cut piece or even within the die itself, lay your die cut in and then take that first piece and lay it over the top, and where there's openings in the bottom piece, you can just press those little looped pieces into the openings and they'll stick down into the tape. That's a super easy way to get those pieces right in there perfectly. I hope you'll try this technique and share the results in our gallery. Thank you so much for watching.